I think here's my take on here's how I'm going to tie together Dr. Seuss, Richard Wagner, and Bill Cosby. All right, we're going to tie them all together. It makes a difference in whether or not H.P. Lovecraft too. It makes a difference how their work interfaces with the beliefs that they hold. Fuck Cosby, right? So it's this whole Tolkien is a racist and a bigot. A lot of artists and writers in the older days have bad takes. Exactly. And a lot of artists and writers in the older days have created works that have excellent, pardon me, excellent, wonderful intersectional themes, despite that. It all depends on how those views are able to be separated from their work. Separating art from the artist, it's much easier to separate when they're no longer producing content. That's true. It's also much easier to separate when the content and art that they produce has nothing to do with the beliefs that they hold. Right? Take, for example, Richard Wagner, your composer Moser's example. It's music, right? If he had and you know he was a Nazi sympathizer, so I don't know whether or not he did. If he had written a song about the glory of the Third Reich, would we still be playing that today? No, I don't think that we would. His orchestral pieces are mostly divorced or at least indifferent to his personal views. And his choral works and the themes within them are relatable and fine. So we can take a look at Richard Wagner and say that he was a Nazi sympathizing piece of shit, but he wrote some fucking bangers, all right? And we can listen to those bangers. Because when we listen to those bangers, we're not giving him any more clout. We're not allowing him to do any more harm. With J.K. Rowling, it's a little bit different. Right, separating the person from the art definitely seems to be skewed to producing V Dead. I was about to get to that. It also, like I said, we'll get to Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is very important in this. With J.K. Rowling, we can separate the art from the artist, kind of, right? So if we buy more Harry Potter books, that money goes back to her and increases her amount of clout and influence to spread her transphobic views. So by boycotting that content, it's fine. When J.K. Rowling kicks it in a couple decades, it will be perfectly fine, I think, to continue to purchase Harry Potter merchandise, so long as the people that are profiting from that don't continue spreading hateful views. I think that's the line there for producing V Dead. Here's the other consideration. Bill Cosby, all right? Bill Cosby built his career and his persona. I haven't reread those. Is it rampant in books or all, or just a recent outspokenness? There's some cringe. I mean, it's just like Dr. Seuss. There's a couple little cringy bits, like the fact that one of like the only Asian character in the books is named fucking Cho Chang. Come on. Yeah, there we go, Cho Chang. The fact that that she had to retcon Jewish wizards in things like that. But like we can also recognize that she wrote a book for like she had to get published as a woman writing kids books in the 90s. Like there were certain criteria that would preclude her from being published. Yeah, there's two Asian people in the wizarding world. One of them is literally named Cho Chang, and the other one is a snake. Fucking oops, Joanne. I legit have a Taiwanese friend named Cho Chang. Yikes. Hard to think that was intentional, right? I don't think it was intentional. I don't think she harbors ill will towards people of Asian descent. But anyway, Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby built his entire life and his persona and everything about the body of his work about being an empathetic family man, a black man who, helped his community and helped his family. You had the Cosby Show, which was it was one of the greatest shows of its time. It was very, very progressive. Showed black people in a much more favorable light than other pieces of media. And then it came out that he was just raping the whole time. how does that, like, it's hard to square the Cosby Show as a piece of family-friendly media when the person writing, directing, and starring in it was raping the whole time. That's hard to do, like, just from a thematic perspective. So I think it very much is a case-by-case basis based on how the work interfaces with the artist and how the artist profits in monetarily or in influence from that work being propagated. Does that make sense? Never grew up with the Cosby Show, so I was never shocked about the Bill Cosby thing. Yeah. Bill Cosby, so like I said, contingency read, Bill Cosby built his entire persona on being a family man, which is why it was like so wild when those accusations came out. His stand-up, I put this in the same Wagner category. I guess the show too. It's, and that, I think that's largely a personal preference thing. I think that the fact it's thematic, right? So to have these conversations about interacting with women, about family values and things like that, you can look at it as an art piece, but trying to consume it as that art piece is hard to do, divorced from the context of what he was doing. For me, at least, that's something that's personal, I think. H.P. Lovecraft is another really, really good example, because he's, especially considering that the works of H.P. Lovecraft have been so embraced by the LGBTQ community, by people with mental illness. Are you that way with spacey material? I don't really consume all that much spacey material, so it's like J.K. Rowling going on an anti-trans tirade and then writing a book with a cross-dressing serial killer infiltrating women's spaces to prey on women. Might not be meant in a dangerous way, but with the prior knowledge of her beliefs, the art and the message are intertwined. Exactly. H.P. Lovecraft. Everyone do yourself a favor. Turn on incognito mode and Google H.P. Lovecraft cat name, all right, if you haven't already. Very important piece of information for you. I'll wait for a minute or so for people to go do that. Do not type it in the chat. Incognito mode check. Very important. Gotta protect the browser history, all right? Also not on your work computer? Yep. True, contingency re. When we say that we don't want to stoop to people's level, we say that we want to be the bigger man. It rhymes with that. Yeah. So squaring that with the fact that his works have been, he was interesting. Yeah. Squaring that with the fact that his works and the themes within his works have been so embraced by the LGBTQ community, by people with mental illness, by society at large for its themes, only becomes easier the longer he's been dead. So, yeah, separating art from the artist is a very, very complicated and nuanced and deeply personal and case-by-case thing. That's my full take on it. I might go ahead and upload this to YouTube because just so I have people stop asking me. I can just point to the video because this is something I get asked about a lot. I think I've had this conversation like 4 times on stream now. Makes it hard to consume and participate in media or games so heavily influenced by it. I think the issue with Lovecraft is that works have included the themes he presents has kind of morphed and is almost detached from HP's original vision, and I think that's fine. I think that's a good thing. I think that if terrible people's themes and ideas can be warped for good, I think that that's beautiful. H.P. Lovecraft is quite the gamer, so gamer, in fact, he named his cat with the epic gamer word. True! Yeah. That's my take. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. What a lovely conversation we're having.